The jury today effectively ruled that reporters, investigative reporters, cannot deceive the subjects they investigate when delivering the truth to their audience. The jury effectively ruled today that journalists have a fiduciary duty to the subjects they investigate. But it is a fundamental freedom of the press that the press be free. And today's verdict tramples on that right by imposing upon journalists duties to their subjects which simply do not exist and cannot exist if investigative journalism is to continue in the United States of America. This case is not about whether you like Project Veritas action, or our methods. Today we mourn the loss of an important journalistic independence, the idea that journalists should be free to investigate whom they deem appropriate in the legal manner in which they deem appropriate. We are going to appeal this. We must appeal this. And we must prevail. We welcome all journalists and those in support of free speech to join us so that we have a First Amendment right in the United States of America to continue exposing malfeasance, corruption, waste, abuse, and fraud so that citizens can be informed about what their rights and duties are so they can make informed decisions, because that's what the First Amendment is all about.
You're a hard man to reach. Lao's halfway to Hong Kong. You'd have asked, I could have taken his passport. I told you to keep me in the loop.
All that was left in the vaults were marked bills. They knew we were coming. As soon as your office got involved...
My office? You're sitting down there with scum like Wirtz and Ramirez and you're talking... Oh yeah, Gordon. I almost had your rookie cold on a racketeering beat.
Don't try and cloud the fact that clearly Maroney's got people in your office, Dent.
We need Lao back. But the Chinese won't extradite a national under any circumstances.
If I get him to you, can you get him to talk?
I'll get him to sing.
We're going after the mob's life savings. Things will get ugly.
I knew the risk when I took this job, Lieutenant.
Dear Bruce, I need to be honest and clear. I'm going to marry Harvey Dent. I love him, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. When I told you that if Gotham no longer needed Batman, we could be together, I meant it. But now I'm sure the day won't come when you no longer need Batman. I hope it does. And if it does, I will be there. But as your friend,
I'm sorry, Harvey.
I'm sorry to let you down. If you lose your faith in me, please keep your faith in people. Love now and always, Rachel.
Prepared a little breakfast. Very well then.
Alfred,
Yes, Master Wayne.
Did I bring this on her? I was meant to inspire good, not madness, not death.
You have inspired good, but you spat in the faces of Gotham's criminals. Didn't you think there might be some casualties? Things were always going to get worse before they got better.
But Rachel, Alfred,
Rachel believed in what you stood for. What we stand for. Gotham needs you.
no, Gotham needs its true hero. And I let that murdering psychopath blow him half to hell.
Which is why, for now, they're going to have to make do with you.
She was gonna wait for me, Alfred. Dad doesn't know. He can never know. What's that?
You can wait.
That bandit in the forest in Burma. Did you catch him?
Yes,
How?
we burned the forest down.
Commissioner Gordon and Alfred definitely brought things into perspective for our Dark Knight. And unfortunately, James O'Keefe with Project Veritas has also had his very sobering wake-up call. What up, everybody? Total Control 871. Welcome back to BitChute. Welcome back to Rumble. Welcome back to Free Speech. And hey, welcome back to the reality that freedom isn't free. It's going to be very costly. It's going to get very dangerous. As soon as I finished watching James O'Keefe's latest video reporting the devastating loss, the verdict being rendered against Project Veritas, I don't know a lot about DC wiretapping laws or undercover laws. I don't know. I really don't know. I might see if I can dive into them. I know what the internet will be willing to tell you. That's another story. One of the things that I will bring up, though, I think I put down in the comments section, if I'm not mistaken, what about all of these undercover videos concerning gay conversion therapy? If indeed DC is this sanctuary, I guess it would become like a sanctuary city for gay conversion therapists. Conservative, religious, they could all now flock to DC or any other state. Well, not other state. DC is not a state, but you get what I'm saying. They could flock to any other region that would have these so-called laws. And again, I haven't looked into whatever law it was that Project Veritas was prosecuted under, so I can't say if the verdict is just or not. Literally, because we have definitely learned just how corrupt the courts have fallen. We have seen where people will simply be prosecuted as if their constitutional rights do not exist. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Dan Bongino just had a bit of an interview with a current/ex FBI agent, and he gave some very interesting insight.
Which is part of their, cover story. It's like, well, we didn't look it up. It's like, well, we don't know. And also to look up and find out whether or not they had those records was too burdensome. And it was too expensive for the FBI to do per their filing in courts. I answered it in the affirmative. And then, our lead counsel out of the division office called up the headquarters and asked somebody, what do I do with this guy who's both not getting the COVID shot? So I have a religious exemption that I've claimed, and I'm not going to get it. I still haven't gotten it. I refuse. And for reasons that we can kind of flesh out even more. Sure. The second piece of it and then he's also a whistleblower. What do we do with him? And it goes to a guy who's been in the Bureau for over 25 years. The question does. And he sends it to me. Well, because nobody has any idea that during the time that this mandate went out for the COVID shots, I immediately saw that we needed the ability to share information, the people that were in that situation. And I asked the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, called FLEOA. Yeah, FLEOA, right. I sent a notification in there, and that's 50,000 strong federal agents, 1811s of all varieties, whether it's OIG or IRS or everything, right? So Secret Service is in there. Yeah. And I asked them, and I got no reply to it, but I said, we need to poll the membership and find out how many people are not going to get this vaccine under any circumstances, or under what circumstances they would. So you have a position to represent us. Because if it's 10%, if it's 5,000 federal agents, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of training up there. Right? That's $100,000 of just clearances. They claim it's $100,000 for a top secret clearance. So that's, good point. Times what, 5,000? That's an incredible amount of money, and it's months and months, if not years of time to make up. That's a big deal. That's a strong part for us to push back with in a unified voice, saying this is not right. Let's wait until the courts figure it out, because that's what was eventually going to happen. Right. I get these people. I end up rounding up 300 FBI employees. They're not all agents. They're support. They're everyone from evidence technicians to nurses to secretaries, and then agents as well, and some supervisors as well. We had some GS-15s in there, some GS-14s. And we get this group. And then we get word that the FBI has basically got about 3,000 people that are not going to do the COVID shots. So I've got 10% of those people in a pool.
It's a big chunk of
And we're talking all the time, right? Encrypted apps, sharing information. Hey, this is what's happening in this field office. It's different than in this field office. Hey, this person just said this. That's in leadership. Well, they're implementing it differently down here. So Miami is different than Chicago. Chicago's different than New York. New York's doing something totally different than what's going on in Albuquerque. So everybody's doing their own thing. Everyone's reading the rules. They're testing. They're not testing. They're jamming you up for a testing, whether or not what your status was or whether you put in a religious thing. They're getting people out the door. They pushed out some probationary agents. I spoke to a couple of them recently. And I'm going to respect their privacy and not bring them back into the fray. But they left the bureau in their first year or two because they were told in no uncertain terms, we can fire you for no reason. You will be fired over this, even though there's an injunction. And we don't need a reason to get rid of you, and we will. So just do what you're told and take the shot. What the heck? It's a shot. You have to get shots when you travel. It's like, well, I'm not traveling. I'm going to work.
But those shots are tested. This was a new vaccine.
Correct.
I mean, that's really apples and oranges. I know you get that.
Sure.
For them to say, when I went overseas, we took yellow fever. You had the yellow card. You've seen the yellow.
But this is a new animal, as we said. And for me, COVID was over in October of 2020. I got it. My spouse was pregnant, had 2 little babies. They were all fine. We didn't know. Nobody knew what the story was going to be at that point in time. There was no other option. Came out the other side of, a couple of days of feeling lousy and kind of was out of breath for a little bit, and that was the end of it. And that's probably because we have a fitness standard and we're relatively healthy and we're in the working age, all the things that made it, that we know now. My diet's not terrible and my fitness levels are okay.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it for me. It's like, you just get involved in that sort of thing. And it's like, this changes the game for me. So the FBI started changing the story on what they wanted people to do for their even religious accommodations. They said, how long have you had this belief? How do we know that it's real? And there was 6 questions that they changed it. I think somebody told me it changed 8 times in 60 days. The types of questions, the format. There was one thing for a religious exemption if you wanted to say, get out of the flu shot, right? But there was a different one for the COVID shots. And it was much longer form, which is bizarre. It doesn't make any sense to us. And so we're all sharing this information, right? And so that's the real piece of it. So the folks that come out of a lot of what you're seeing, these whistleblowers coming forward, and the numbers they are what Representative Jordan says they are, I'm sure, and they're probably higher.
His number was around 40. You think it's higher than that? FBI whistleblowers?
That's probably right, but it's being sourced by other people, right? Because we don't all know all the things at all the times.
Excellent reporting by Dan Bongino and Special Agent Seraphin. Yes, indeed. Very brave gentleman indeed to come forward, knowing that it would cost him his job. This is what it's going to take, people. I can't mince the words. I can't pussyfoot around with it. This is what it's going to take. Brave people willing to sacrifice. I mean, hey, you're talking... like I said before, I would never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. I am very well aware that my protest activities could end up getting me thrown in jail. I've already outlined how that domino effect will destroy my life. I will lose my Social Security. I will lose my housing voucher. And I will then basically be either incarcerated for the rest of my life, because I will continue to go back to these doctor offices insisting upon non-segregated equal treatment. I will continue to do this, and which of course would result in additional arrest and additional unlawful convictions. Excuse me. It's a massive sacrifice. No guts, no glory. Nothing wagered, nothing gained. And there are a lot, I don't even know if I want to go off into that topic. The civil rights parasites. I spoke about civil rights parasites about 4 or 5 years ago. These are the people who they're always there to massage your shoulders. Oh, buddy, oh, pal, I was right there with you the whole time. Yeah, I was right there fighting right alongside you. Shut up. No, you were not. Okay? If I'm being honest, you got A lot of our independent journalists tend to fall in that category. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that they are willing to speak, but they do pussyfoot around the censorship. You know, Tim Pool, who are we kidding? He's so scared of losing his YouTube audience, you know. And I get his thinking is, well, if I lose my voice on YouTube, then it's a bigger blow to the cause. We won't have our voice. It's a game of chicken. Remember, how many large channels are the big tech platforms willing to lose? You know, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. How many big channels are you willing to lose before you finally go, I mean, hello. Twitter is already heavily embroiled in a bot scandal. I don't think it's just Twitter. I think it's bots galore on all of these platforms, desperately trying to keep their number up. They're guilty of fraud. Talk about your fiduciary duty. Okay, now there's your fiduciary duty. You got your sponsors, huh? Okay, so when Chips Ahoy puts out their stupid little commercial, and by the way, I want to do a whole thing. The twerking Chips Ahoy cookie, black. You know what? I'm not going to get off topic. That's a whole thing. Basically, has anybody else noticed? Commercials are completely overrun with identity politics. It's creepy. I mean, real creepy, like genocide creepy. It's like it's such high minority content in these commercials. It makes, because remember now, nothing's changed in psychology. Yeah. Who are you selling these cookies to? It's almost as if they're saying Nabisco knows that white people aren't going to be around, or if they are, they're going to be of no consequence. Okay, that's a whole topic. All right, anyway, but yeah, getting back to our B-roll, because by the way, in case you can't tell by my shirt, it's like 2 days later since I filmed The Principal. We're here today. We're going to be talking about Special Agent Seraphim's discussion on the religious exemption. Now, I think I forgot if I said in our Principal footage, I don't tell people, or should I say, request to be religiously exempt. There's no request. I don't have to ask your permission to have my faith. Okay? I've already discussed this. My faith is of no threat to you. None whatsoever. There is absolutely no scientific reason for you to deny me my faith. And there's definitely no legal ground for you to force me to convert to your faith. And I'm sorry if your so-called pandemic appears and disappears completely dependent on the political venue, the political cause, the agenda, then no, that is not a scientific pandemic. That is a religion, okay? Like I said before, if the Democrats can legislate without mandates, they relax their mandates to ensure that they could get every last single vote. They didn't want to risk people turning up positive and, you know, a monkey wrench in the works, so you relaxed your pandemic measures, okay? That says it's not a pandemic. That says it's purely ideological. It is a cult when it exists and when it does not exist. And like all cults, in case you didn't know, eventually the cult leaders, they begin to violate the very things that they, rules and tenements and the very basis of their religion, they themselves violated, and then they don't even necessarily hide the fact that they violated. Like your Jim Jones, he wanted, you had to live your life a particular way, but Jim Jones could fuck your wife, fuck your children, and then he fucked the husbands. Okay? And he gave you a crazy reason. I wouldn't call it logical. He gave you some retarded ass backward reason for why. And of course, when we point out the craziness of their so-called COVID logic, they throw out the word novel. We're going to talk more about that. I've got a special, I made it onto I'll say a larger platform. It's something interesting you might catch fun. Interesting. But anyway, that's how we know it's a cult. That's how we know it's their religion. They're forcing people to convert to their cult. When there is a biological threat, it completely depends on what their political climate is. They lick their fingers, stick it up in the air. Or shall we say they take their dipstick, they dip their dipstick down, rub it off with the rag, dip it again, and they assess, the dipstick, how much are the people willing to accept? That's where I was going with the whole dipstick analogy. I'm serious. They want to know how much of a dipstick you are. Are you a dipstick? How much more are you ready for? How malleable is your mind as we transition from fake pandemic to fake climate emergency? And you just gotta love it. The fact that months ago, Project Veritas blew the whistle, outed CNN as saying, yep, this is the agenda. This is our pre-planned agenda. And damn if it didn't happen. Here we are, segueing away from the fake pandemic and saying hello to fake climate emergency. Or more specifically, reasons for why we get to dominate the shit out of your life. Reasons as to why we can lock up Amish farmers. They won't farm the government's way. They won't farm in accordance with the Green New Deal. Amish farmers aren't on board with starving people to death. And we can't have that. We can't have people just out there feeding people healthy, nutritious food. No. If it isn't sludge that's been grown in a laboratory, then we don't want you eating it. If it didn't once have 6 legs and wings, then we don't want you eating it. Okay? All right, so we heard Special Agent Seraphim outline how, as I said, the labyrinth, the maze, the walls are changing, the sliding, the moving walls as to what qualifies as a religious exemption. Special Agent Seraph was talking about how, this goes for a flu shot, but however, the COVID shot is something different. I want to take a look here because this has been sitting in my gallery for a long time. Let's go. Okay, so I have been sitting on this little nugget from Rebel, as you can see, since July the 16th. Pay no attention to that hunk. But yes, in regards to religious exemptions, let's take a look.
These politicians are saying, like, this is for everyone's health and we have to protect everyone and this is, we have to do this. But you know what? When you look at the World Health Organization's document on the social determinants of health, it states that the number one social determinant of health is income. So why am I being denied my number one social determinant of health? How is that okay?
Mary Ugolini here with Rebel News, and as hospitals remain chronically understaffed with emergency departments and other urgent care clinics being forced to cut back operating hours, I'm bringing you the story of a registered nurse who was terminated by her employer despite being ready, willing, and able to work. In November of 2021, Guelph General Hospital terminated Nurse Catherine after they refused to recognize her religious exemption to the COVID-19 injection policy. All across Canada, healthcare workers previously hailed as frontline heroes have been terminated over their personal medical decisions in an unprecedented infringement on bodily autonomy and informed consent. Hear it from Catherine directly. What has happened to her?
Hey guys, what's up? Total Control 871. Welcome back to BitChute. Welcome back to Rumble. Welcome back to Free Speech. Son of a gun. I must have done this a while ago and completely forgot that I gave commentary on it. But clearly, I already gave my commentary here in regards to the religious exemption. But Thanks, Amir, but I think we'll take it from a fresh perspective if that's okay. Let's jump over to the documents that our nurse provided to Rebel News. Okay, so here are the documents that I do apologize. They are not exactly the crispest. We got Dear Catherine, hospital in receipt of correspondence from you requesting exemption from the Guelph General Hospital, the experimental injection, as a result, your faith or religion, in order to determine if your request, again, you don't, stop asking. You can do them the courtesy, perhaps, of letting them know the way it's going to be, but stop asking, all right? If your request for such an exemption is supported, we require you to provide a response to the following questions. What is the faith or religion? And by the way, in case you're wondering, yes, these are the exact same. Matter of fact, Canada got these questions from America. So in case you were wondering, well, that's going on in Canada, not America. No, it's the exact same shit. It really is. What is your faith? What is the faith or religion to which you belong? And I know this because I was asked these questions by my public defender. You know, as she was, like I said, I still question as to whether or not she was actually working on my behalf, but it's almost like she was trying to interrogate. Nobody has the right to interrogate you on your faith. I don't want to spend too much time on this B-roll because I want to jump over to an important part of it. The law, you know, what does the law? Because remember, what you're reading is just somebody who sat down at a computer and wrote something. None of what you are looking at or reading is a law, neither here in America or Canada. What is the faith or religion to which you belong? How long have you been adherent to the faith or religion? Adherent. Pay close attention to these words now. Okay? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to case build and say, you know, whatever your faith is, you're so secular that, therefore, if you can be secular in all these other regards, then you can be secular enough to accept the mark of the beast injection. That's the premise of what they're trying to say. What is the basis of your sincerely held belief that you are unable to be experimentally injected? Can you advise whether there is a true tenet of the creed that requires the mandates and accommodations requested? If so, what is it? Please explain how your sincerely held beliefs are supported by your faith or religion. Okay. Do your religious beliefs regarding experimental injection apply to all legitimate vaccines, or specifically the mark of the beast injection. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, I'll throw this in. I am what I call 2020 anti-vax. Okay. Obviously, I wasn't anti-vax until, how can I say this? If I were to have a child, I don't think I would want them vaccinated, or it's like I want them vaccinated, but because of what you don't know what your child would be injected with. Yeah, sure, we're giving you MMR injection series. Sure, it's just not the regular kind. Suddenly, in other words, are all of our routine vaccinations suddenly going to be transitioned over to mRNA, genetic modification, mark of the beast, created with the patent that ends in 060606, owned by Bill Gates. Just saying. I'm just saying. So, like I say, just like with so many other things that I used to never question, that's what your fake pandemic has done. You have given birth to an entire population of people who, if they weren't suspicious of you before, oh my glory be to God, they are never going to trust you again. Let me get back to this thing here. It says, if your sincerely held belief is not consistent with the position taken by your faith or religion, please explain, okay? Now, there's so much more I could go on with the documents, and let me see. Let me see what else that I wanted, because this document, it did have another page to it. I want to see something real quick. Hold on. Because there was so much here, I can't really get all into, because I don't want this to get too long. I'm just simply going to scroll, and you can pause and read at your leisure, okay? You can just simply pause and read this stuff at your leisure. I found, what was it? Is this one? Is this the union one? Is equally employers' refusal climate request a violation? Yeah, claimants collective agreement. In other words, one of the things that I wanted to point out about number 20 was how the unions failed so many people. America's unions, Canada's unions. Where were the unions in all this? Okay? Union presidents got put into pockets, got put into big pharma's and the government's pockets very early on. Okay? Remember now, you're voting for these people. You vote these people as to who's going to be your president. Okay? Why are you voting for people? Find out. Put their ass on the crucible. Okay? As your next meeting, who's running for what? Oh yeah, well, okay, get up there on the stage and we're about to ask you some questions. Create some bylaws where if they violate what they say, then guess what? We don't have to wait for another election cycle. Your ass will be impeached right then and there. Okay? All right, let me move on. This is why I was moving quick, because I didn't want to waste too much time on my political opinions. I definitely wanted to back all this up. As you can see, our website, we are on the government's EEOC website. Excuse me. Website here. And this is the language of the law. Something that you would think would be very, very important. What you should know. Workplace religious accommodations. Here is the details. Okay, let's dig in, shall we? In case I don't get to everything that I wanted, the whole gist of this website simply means you don't have to be some ultra-orthodox version of your faith, okay? Let's read. This thing says, are employers required to accommodate the religious beliefs and practices of applicant and employees? The answer is yes. Title VII of the Civil Rights 1964 Act prohibits employment discrimination based on religion. This includes refusing to accommodate an employee's sincerely held religious beliefs or practices unless the accommodation would impose an undue hardship more than a minimal burden of operation of the business, okay? Number one, this hardship, it cannot be manufactured by the government, meaning the employer can't say, oh, well, I have to force you because the government will shut me down. And if they shut me down, then that's a massive loss of income, and therefore that's an undue hardship. No, that is manufactured by the government, okay? The government is manufacturing that. An undue hardship would be, put it like this, and this is real, this is not a hypothetical. There was a woman, I believe she was black, African, what? Black, okay? Black chick, flight attendant, working for, I don't know exactly how long, I forget. But the point is that one day she pops up at work proclaiming herself to have, I forgot if she said that she converted to Islam or she now wishes to be more ardent. She wants to adhere to the tenets of her faith a little bit more. And therefore, as a result, she can no longer handle alcoholic beverages. Somebody else is going to have to do that for her. No. Okay. That would be an undue hardship for an employer that they would literally have to hire your mini-me, your, and they would this person that shadows you with no other role to do except but to stand by and wait for you to be confronted with the request of an alcoholic beverage or whatever else runs afoul of your religion. Okay, that is an undue. You can't have. It's completely psychotic to think that an employer can sit there and hire a complete entourage of people for one person. And then what if your exemption helper, I can't get that for you because, I'm exempt. It's against my religion to pour that old fashioned for you. But my exemption helper, they're going to do that for you. Exemption helper, will you please make this gentleman an old fashioned? And now that the exemption helper is employed by the airline, they go, you know what? I'm religious too. I'm going to need an exemption helper. I can't be doing it. Somebody got to do it. And all of a sudden, the exemption helper needs an exemption helper, and on and on and on. Okay, I think you get my point here. Let me continue reading. This includes refusing to accommodate an employee's sincerely held religious beliefs or practices unless the accommodation would impose an undue hardship more than a minimal burden of operation of the business. A religious practice may be sincerely held by an individual even if newly adopted. Like I said, this is the law, people, and they are sitting here and they are interrogating you with these questions. How long have you been a part of this religion? Doesn't make a difference. Irrelevant. Okay? Newly adopted. Not consistently observed. You don't have to consistently observe it. Or different from the commonly followed tenets of the individual's religion. There is so much more I could go on in reading this. I highly encourage you to pop over and find out what the law says. You don't have to listen to me, okay? Find out what the law says, okay? Because people, we better, hey, look it. I get it. Yeah, hey, here goes some phone numbers for you, okay? All right, you dig? All right. Stop pontificating. Hey, I get it. I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for giving me the time, the privilege to speak to you. But people, we need to fight with the language of the law. What does the actual law says? Like I said, I've combed over all of this stuff. Before I went charging into MedCom, I had to find out, what does the actual law actually have to say? Okay? I don't have to be interrogated over what my religion is, how long I've had it, do I consistently practice it. And if you really want to know why the law was written this way, it's for Jews. Because you got Jews of all varying persuasions of kosher. Some keep kosher, more kosher than others. However, they all want maximum protection. Well, glory be to God. Good for you. If the Jew can get maximum protection, then I can get maximum protection. Okay? So you can take your little interrogation sheet and shove it up your ass. Send it back to the pits of hell from where it came from. Okay? All right. Let's jump back to our principal footage here. And like I say, if I feel a little... that was 2 in the morning. It's 6 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening now. I'm wrapping up right now. I'm going to go have me some dinner. But yes, please enjoy the rest of the episode. I am trying to increase my production value for you guys. Take it easy. Shocking, isn't it? They act as if the law isn't even there. The EEOC clearly spells out, basically, you don't have to ask. Okay? It's not a religious request. It's a religious declaration. You are declaring that you are exempt. Okay? I'm not asking. I don't ask anybody, can I be religiously exempt? Okay? I will do you the courtesy that I'm not even required to, but I will do you the courtesy of letting you know that my faith does not comport with your faith, your COVID faith, okay? You don't have to follow my faith, okay? I'm not forcing my beliefs on you. You, however, are forcing your beliefs on me under the belief that breathing normally or not taking an experimental unproven injection is somehow a threat to you. And of course, you have absolutely no proof to support this unless you want to talk about your 8 laboratory mice. I'm going to see if I can put some laboratory mice up there. That's why I got my negative space here. I'm going to see if I can use some special effects. We'll see what happens in post-production. But that is a very serious situation. The courts, I said it before, the courts are just about everything that is holding America together right now. Excuse me, the courts. Can you feel it? You know, we're hearing about all this gender stuff talk in schools and everything. And I think I told you guys before on my last episode, my sex ed, it was very, very cut and dry, very bare bones, very, this is your body, this is the anatomy, copulation, insemination, impregnation, gestation, and birth. And I said that because what we then segued into, once we had the bare basics of sex ed, this is how you get pregnant, this is how it works, we then segued into biology, cell division. It's called mitosis. There are different stages of it. By the way, I learned all of this in the 5th grade. One of the first things that the cell will do before dividing is that it will shoot out its spindle. I'm doing a spindle. I hope that shoot out its spindle. People, I don't know about you, but I can feel America's spindle starting to shoot out. America is in the process of dividing in half. Truly, I really do think it is. The courts, I don't know how much longer they're going to be intact. Once the courts fall, then that's it. You know, like I was saying about the gay conversion or other either religious services or psychological services, whatever it is that the radical left does not believe in, you know. I don't believe in gay conversion therapy, but I think you get my point. I think you see where I'm going. Is this more evidence of bifurcated justice system? Because I know I've seen ample undercover videos of these gay conversion camps, centers, or whatever they're called, inpatient, outpatient, gay conversion. What's to become of them? What's to become of the people and the organizations they work for who went undercover, you know? So how is the courts and, you know, how are you going to get around this glaring difference here, you know? So what did Gordon say? Going after the mob. Alfred said, you know, I don't know, desperation. The mob turned to the Joker in their desperation. Gordon talked about how, you know, going after the mob, make sure you know what the hell you're doing. I don't know if this video will make it to James O'Keefe's ears, but I really do hope you know what you're doing. I don't doubt your tactics. I just want you to know that what's about to happen is going to get very, very ugly and very dangerous. The Jewish oligarchy. Think about it, James. Did you really think the awesome power of this oligarchy would really be undone with just a handful of videos, undercover videos? No. No. These people are much too powerful. As you saw, they will change laws in the middle of a trial. They will move a judge off a bench and put another one on in the middle of a trial. If anything we've seen thus far, we are in a maze and the walls are moving. You know, I spoke about this many, many years ago, back on the YouTube channel. Toy collector. I was a toy collector on a toy forum, chat forum. I ended up getting kicked off. I thought the whole thing was a big psychological, to me it ended as a big psychological experiment. I love psychology. I love studying psychology. And the long story short, it was a debate over whether one brand of 6-inch action figures was in scale with another brand of 6-inch action figures. My argument was that both brands were in the same scale, just one size was a little bit larger than the other. Like a large man getting inside of a Mini Cooper. Just because the man is so large doesn't mean that he's not in scale with, you know, cars and anyway. But anyhow, it caused such a controversy. There's a long story to it, but in short, I ended up getting kicked off. I found it was very interesting because the other members of the forum, they began to just start breaking all of the community guidelines. I was called all kinds of vicious names, attacked. If I returned fire after having been called a folly of names, then the moderators would come down on me. What do you mean? I didn't draw first blood. I'm just returning fire. And I ended up getting kicked off and banned from the site. Okay. Now, of course, it's just a website. It's just a silly website dealing with toy collection. Therefore, I didn't think much of it. You know. Fast forward a few years. I am, again, you'd have to be familiar with my old channel, Cycling Advocate, advocating for my rights to ride the roads as a cyclist. There we begin to see the same thing. You know, the general consensus was cyclists, motorists have always accepted, like motorists and cyclists have always accepted their place, their unspoken, unwritten place on the road, despite the fact that there is a law and a manual, a cycling manual, that clearly outlines that I have the right to take control of the lane under certain circumstances, okay? Basically, I'll spare you the long and short of that whole saga. When I went to court, I was written several dozens of tickets for riding my bicycle legally. I came to court fighting these tickets with the law on my side. It didn't make a difference. The judge just simply pushed it aside. I don't care. My continuity, the cops' continuity, prosecution's continuity, other drivers on the road's continuity is of such that we have always seen and believed cyclists riding in the gutter or on sidewalks or the gutter. And just take your chances. Just trust that the driver of whatever size vehicle, small car, whether it's a small car or a Mack truck, just take your chances that they will squeeze past you okay, you know. So here we had laws being broken, ignored. Judges breaking these laws. In one of my court cases, I wasn't even allowed to read my charge in court. You understand what I'm saying? So we've gone from a silly little that didn't involve any kind of legal anything, but still, it's the principle. Gang mob mentality. You know, how Gordon and Alfred were talking about, it's the mob you're going up against. Okay, well, that was a mob mentality. The drivers, mob mentality. Courts, mob, it doesn't make a difference. Okay? You're going up against the Jewish oligarchy. America is up against the Jewish oligarchy, whether they understand it or not. Because I get it. We've all been trained to never, ever speak out against the Jews. You know, their precious Holocaust that they curate over. It's their victim card, and they've gotten so much mileage out of it. But that kind of brings me to my closing point here, because like I said, this was a short episode tonight. It's after 2 a.m, and I'm pretty tired. The Jews, who are perpetrating this fantastic hoax. You see, James, they don't have another reset button left in them. You know, going back thousands of years, you know, they had a lot of things that were on their side. Technology was so slow. Communicating was slow. Even I said it before, even under those circumstances, they still ended up managing to get so much of the world pissed off at them. You know, when they would come riding into town, their Jewish caravan come riding into town, you know, these people, you know, we've heard about you. When they came riding into Egypt, you know, it all started out wonderful. You know, they weren't slaves right away. Actually, were they ever slaves? Anyway, but we won't get into that. It all started out wonderful, you know, and then eventually they get, after mucking up the local politics, it's all the same thing. It's all rinse and repeat. They get involved in the local everything. And after, it's not an overnight thing. It's usually, you know, 3 or 4 generations. So, you know, it's been a couple hundred years since they came into town, and it's all shit again. You know, gee, how old is America? Oh, a couple hundred years. Like I say, they always end up being the infestation that just makes everything so horrible that it brings everything to an end. And the Jews have hit their reset button, you know. Once it gets bad, like with Exodus, you know, they claim they escaped Egypt. I don't know. Did you escape Egypt? Or was it an armed escort out where you run out of town? I don't know. So, and that's basically been their history for thousands of years, causing grief and havoc everywhere they go. Now, you know, 1940, when World War II broke out, that, I know this is going to sound bizarre, but that was probably their best godsend. This was it, baby. You know, you had technology come out of World War I. You know, this is World War II. Technology is rapidly advancing there. This is it. You know, we got telephones. Telephones are, I'm flashing back to the honeymooners. They had a telephone, but wait a minute, did they even have a telephone? Because I think for a while they didn't have a telephone, but I think Alice finally made Ralph accept one, or whatever. They didn't have a TV, that was for sure. You know, and the whole point was that they were piss poor. But as I said, you know, in the aftermath of World War II, technology just simply exploded, and the oligarchy, and of course, all the lands have been discovered. You know, we had, you know, 1492, you know, a few hundred years ago, the last of the continents were discovered, the North American continent, and that's it. You know, there's no more land, no more real estate. This is it. You know, there's no place for you to go once you've made a mess of things, you know. So World War II, they realized that this was going to be their golden ticket, their golden camouflage. People, the world felt so sorry for them. And I'm not saying that horrible things. I've seen the vintage footage. I used to believe 6 million, maybe 6 million did die. But let's just say, in these last 3 years of this fake pandemic, there's a lot of things that I'm beginning to question and take a second and third look at, you know. I don't think anything is concrete anymore, you know. So, this is the last of their reset. There is no more reset. Think of how technologically advanced we are now in the year 2022. Think about it. Everybody knows about them. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it, not out loud. They know they'll instantly be labeled an anti-Semite. Makes me think of that old Twilight Zone episode where the entire town was scared shitless of that little boy because he had awesome psychic powers. He could just simply wish you into non-existence. Sounds like the awesome power of the Jewish oligarchy, doesn't it? If they don't want you to have anything, then you won't. Okay, I was listening to somebody, was it Tim Pool? And he had people in the music industry, and they were talking about how they're they didn't say Jewish age. I want to be clear here. But frankly, who are we kidding? Of course it's going to be a Jew talent agency, managers, agents. They're all Jew owned, okay? And they dictated to you what your social media posts would be, and we want you to send out this tweet in support of Ukraine, and they didn't want to support the Ukraine war. Okay? But they knew that if they didn't do it, their career would be crushed. What's the saying? You'll never work in this town again. That's something only the power of the Jewish oligarchy could do. That's worse than being blacklisted. Okay? And we're beginning to understand the scope of their corruption, proclivities, powers, sexual desires, their human trafficking, Epstein, Jew, Weinstein. Okay? You see what I'm saying when I say their camouflage? As of late, it's just been falling off. It's just been, they can't hold it together anymore. And they know this. They know the time is running out. And they are desperate to bring all of humanity under enslavement. Because they know they don't have, their camouflage isn't going to hold much longer. That's the reason for the enslavement. Okay? Resetting of the world's finances, enslavement, eating artificial everything. Learn to live in a coffin. All right, let me wrap this thing up. So yeah, James, I feel you, brother. I really do. I don't know what to tell you. Anybody out there, if you want to give some love and support to Project Veritas, I'm sure they got links. You can drop a few coins in their can. I personally don't fund these accounts. The last time I tried was the Truckers Convoy. What was it? I think Rebel News just announced that they're going to be paying the fines, the $80,000 fine for one of the churches that were, where the pastor was arrested or seized. I don't want this money to go into these corrupt state coffers. No. The reason why I point that out is because I need everybody to understand what it is that you're getting into. Again, like the infamous rooftop speech between Batman, Gordon, Harvey. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to go after this mob, this powerful entity? Because it is going to get ugly. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm not interested in crowdfunding a bunch of money that we can hand over to this oligarchy. No. Now is the time to take to the streets. Take to the streets and let these people know we will have our liberty or we will have our death. It is just that simple. I can't tell you what to do. I don't know if freedom means that much to you. That 18-year-old, he was run down, murdered. And if I'm being honest, There are zealots on my side of the argument who are just as capable. Like I told you, the spindle is being shot out. We, the people, are the chromosomes that are about to be divided and dragged across the spindle. We are about to divide this country. And I'm going to tell you right now, once that happens, that's it. North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, they are all licking their chops. They got their napkins tied up around their neck. They're holding their knife and fork, sharpening it up. They are ready for our ass. The moment we plunge into civil war, that's it. That's it. Okay, that is it. I'm gonna call this quits. Talk maybe a little bit more about it later on. Gotta hit the hay. All right, people, that's it. Keep fighting. Chin up. Remember, this thing, it's going to get very ugly. It's going to get very dangerous. Your mettle will be tested. Are you ready and willing to lose it all? To lose it all. Okay. Total Control, 871.